So today we're going to dive into a pretty big idea. It connects something that sounds simple, laws to protect kids online, with a much larger and frankly more troubling future. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so this is the quote that really kicks things off. The theory here is that all these age checks popping up across the internet are way more than what they seem. They might just be the building blocks for a massive surveillance system, one that governments are quietly getting ready for, a very different kind of future. So what are we looking at here? Is this just a wild conspiracy theory? A classic slippery slope argument? Or is it a real warning? Are we connecting dots that are hiding in plain sight? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's look at the evidence together.
All right, first up, a provocative theory. The big idea here is that these well-meaning safety laws could be building the foundation for tomorrow's control systems. The argument isn't that protecting kids is a bad thing, of course not. It's that the method, the how they're doing it, could easily be repurposed for something else entirely down the road.
So that brings us to Section 2, the official story. What are governments actually saying out loud? Let's take a look at why they argue these laws are absolutely necessary, right here and right now.
And look, this isn't some fringe experiment happening in one or two places. This is a global wave. You've got state-level laws in about half the US, the UK's massive Online Safety Act, rules in Australia, the EU's Digital Services Act. It's everywhere. And the stated goals are always the same: keep kids safe from harmful content. This whole movement has some serious momentum, backed by powerful groups of parents and child safety organizations.
Which brings us to Section 3, the surveillance pipes. Let's talk about how this technology actually works, because no matter what the intention is, the result is a brand new system of identity checks online. So how do these so-called pipes really function?
Think about how this works for you. You go to a website, maybe an app, and boom, you're told you have to prove your age. So you upload a scan of your ID or use facial recognition, maybe a digital wallet. And just like that, it's done. A direct line is drawn between your real-world, government-issued identity and what you're doing online. That wall of anonymity we've had for so long, it starts to crumble.
And this is exactly where groups like the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU really raise the alarm. They argue that once you build this kind of verification infrastructure, its purpose can easily expand. It makes it normal to have to show your papers just to speak online, and it creates these giant databases, basically a goldmine for hackers or government agencies linking our real names to our digital lives.
Okay, so we have this new infrastructure being built, but why would it be so significant in the future? Well, to get that, we need to look at the world that mainstream science is projecting for the 2035 to 2040 timeframe. Let's move to Section 4, a future under pressure.
For a long time, we talked about worst-case scenarios for the climate. Well, guess what? Recent reports are saying that's now the most likely outcome under current policies. 2.7 degrees Celsius warmer. That's not a fringe prediction anymore. That is the scientific consensus. And a world that's nearly 3 degrees warmer is a world of radical instability and stress on every resource we have.
And that instability has a human face. The World Bank is projecting a staggering number. 216 million people could be forced to move within their own countries by 2050 because of things like water shortages, crop failures, rising sea levels. Just try to imagine that scale. That is the kind of challenge governments are anticipating, a situation that would push any system of law and order to its absolute limit.
So let's connect those dots on a timeline. The digital control tools are being built and normalized today, right now. They're set to be mature and widespread precisely during that crisis window from 2035 to 2040. That's exactly when governments will be facing unheard of levels of unrest and will have a ready-made infrastructure perfect for tracking people and controlling information.
Which leads us to the big question in all of this. Section 5, conspiracy or convergence? Is someone consciously planning this, a deliberate plot to prepare for future chaos? Or did it just happen, a predictable accident?
Okay, so there are pretty much two ways to look at this. On one hand, you have the deliberate plot idea. Maybe security agencies are quietly whispering to politicians, hey, pass these popular kids' safety laws, they'll build the infrastructure we'll need later. Then there's the convergent evolution theory. This says it's just a perfect storm. You get a moral panic about child safety, you have new verification tech available, and it's an easy political win. And whoops, you've accidentally built a powerful tool of control.
But you know what? Here's the kicker. It almost doesn't matter which theory is true. Whether it was planned in a secret meeting or it just happened by accident, the end result is exactly the same. A less anonymous, more easily controlled internet,
where a few governments and corporations hold all the keys to our digital lives.
Now, if this all still sounds a little too theoretical, we just have to look across the pond. Welcome to Section 6, the UK test case. This is where we can see this mission creep we've been talking about happening in real time, right now.
So the UK's big law, the Online Safety Act, it started with a really clear, simple goal. Kids off porn sites. Fine. But look what's happened in just about a year. The mission is already expanding. The government is already talking about using the exact same age check requirements for social media, for online gaming, even for AI chatbots. The slippery slope isn't a theory in the UK. You can literally read it in their policy memos. It's happening as we speak.
And so that leaves us with one final big question. We're told these laws are a shield, right? Something to protect the most vulnerable people in our society. And a lot of people pushing for them genuinely believe that. But when you see the infrastructure being laid, when you watch the mission creep happen right before your eyes, and when you think about the future that's coming, you just have to ask yourself, what if, in our attempt to build a shield, we are accidentally constructing a cage?